Welcome to another edition of Prop Drop. This week we're talking about UFC 318, which goes down in New Orleans, Louisiana, headlined by Dustin the Diamond Poirier and Max Blessed Holloway. Decent card all throughout. There should be some bangers here, but I'm trying to drop some props for you guys here. Briefly going over every single matchup and giving you guys my favorite props for the winner and for the loser if you're looking for some possible hedge opportunities if you find yourself overexposed on a certain side. So without further ado, let's get right into this bad boy. First matchup up we're going to talk about is Carly Judice going up against Nicole Caliari. I do believe that Judice will be buoyed by this Louisiana crowd as she takes on Caliari, and I think we'll see her utilize her distance striking approach, utilizing good enough defensive takedowns as well, or even get-ups, where she should be able to pick apart Caliari from distance and go on to win this fight on the scorecards, which you can currently get at plus 105. In the off chance that she does land one of her patented head kicks, you can get her to win by knockout at plus 340. On the flip side, I think if Caliari wins, it comes with her grinding Judice out, utilizing her physicality and keeping her on her back. I don't think she produces a finish, but if she wins, it probably comes on the scorecards, which you can currently get at plus 420. All right, next up, we got a solid fight here between Bruno Ferreira going up against short notice UFC debutant Jackson McVey. Ferreira should run through McVey. I'm a big McVey fan. I've been following him through his LFA career, but this is too big of a step up in competition for him and resistance. I think Ferreira will showcase it pretty quickly, sticking to his early finishing ways. You can get Ferreira to win in round one at minus 105 or round one by knockout at plus 200. That's where I'm leaning. In the off chance you think that he utilizes his BJJ black belt, you can get round one submission at plus 470. On the flip side for Jackson McVey, I think if he wins, it probably comes early, round one, plus 1,000, or he's able to replicate what Nursultan Ruziboev was able to do against Bruno Ferreira and just snipe him from distance with that long range. And I think if he wins, probably comes in round one, like I said, or round one knockout, which you can get at plus 2,100. All right, next up, we got Ryan Spann going up against Lucas Brzeski. Spann is one of the flakier fighters on the roster, similar to Kennedy and Nzechukwu, who just fumbled a bag last week. And I think he probably wins this fight against Polish fighter Lucas Brzeski. I think it comes inside the distance at minus 175. Specifically speaking, I think he wins by knockout, which you can get at plus 165. And then on the flip side, if Brzeski does end up winning and his heavyweight power ends up thwarting whatever Spann's throwing back at him, you can get Brzeski to win by knockout at plus 360. All right, next up, we got a light heavyweight matchup between Jimmy the Brute Crute going up against Marcin Prachnio. I'm expecting this to be a car crash, considering the aggressive nature of Crute and the power that usually comes back his way in Prachnio's hands and kicks. I like the under 2.5 at minus 155. I think Crute ends up getting a club and sub here, so you can get Crute to win by submission at plus 170. There's a possibility that he even lands a big shot and just puts Prachnio cleanly, which you can get Crute by knockout at plus 400. And then on the flip side, if Prachnio does win, probably by knockout, Crute has been somewhat of a durability issue at times. You can get Prachnio to win by knockout at plus 600. But I'm thinking violence regardless. All right, next up, we got Islam Dulatov going up against Adam Fugitt. Dulatov has been highly touted after his nasty elbow knockout victory on the Contender Series over Vanilto Antunes. Now he's looking to bring those chops here to the UFC, and I think he can do it once again as he has a perfect stylistic matchup here against Fugitt. You can get Dulatov to win by knockout at minus 140 or Dulatov round 1 KO at plus 175. And then on the flip side, if Fugitt's durability ends up holding up here, he might be able to put Dulatov through the ringer and take this fight to the scorecards, which you can get him to win by decision at plus 1100 if he does end up getting the dub here. All right, next up, we got a volatile matchup here in Atiba Gautier going up against Robert Valentin. I'm thinking the under 1.5, probably the way to go at -160. I think Gautier does land that knockout, but that's chalked up all the way up at -230. But Valentin is probably the better technical fighter overall. He has a good, slick submission game. He has some decent power of his own, and he does like to be the aggressor. And if he can get that pace here from Gautier, he might be able to get this fight into a realm where he feels most comfortable. And I think if he wins, he probably snatches onto a submission, which he can get at +850. But I think even at his money line, he's worth a little bit of a stab considering the greenness and rawness to Gautier's game, especially if Valentin's durability holds up early here. But I'm going to go Gautier by knockout, but that line is just way too chalky for me. All right, next up, we got Nikolai Veretennikov going up against Francisco Prado. Prado fighting at 170 pounds is just not something that I think is viable. We saw it obviously not work out for him last time around against Jake Matthews as he got outstruck for 15 minutes and ended up losing that fight on the scorecards. And I think something similar is going to happen to him here against Veretennikov, who, he's maybe not as good as Jake Matthews, but he's still a good enough all-around mixed martial artist that he can put it on Prado. If his durability holds up, which I think it will, I think he'll be able to grind Prado out, utilizing a combination of volume, striking, and a smothering clinch game. And I think that will lead to Veretennikov winning this fight on the scorecards, which you can currently get at +240. On the flip side, if Prado wins, that probably means that Veretenikov's durability did not hold up, and you can get Prado to win by knockout at +350. All right, next up, we got Marvin Vettori going up against Brendan Allen. Both guys kind of difficult to put away. Well, Vettori, difficult to put away. Allen, I don't think has the capabilities of putting Vettori away, nor do I think that Vettori has the capabilities of putting Allen away. But I think that Vettori will be more assertive in this matchup. I think he'll dictate the pace in the striking realm with those pocket exchanges. I think his durability will help him in those spots where Allen tries to get off on big shots. But I think Vettori's strength and physicality will allow him to dictate where this fight takes place, keeping Allen away from utilizing that dangerous submission game that he normally brings to the table. Look for Vettori to smother Allen up against the cage, smother him with volume as well, and go on to win this fight on the scorecards, which you can currently get at +280. On the flip side, if Allen does win, it's probably with him landing some big shots, maybe even getting some control time. But I think if he wins, it probably comes on the scorecards, which you can currently get at +110. All right. Next matchup up, I believe this is the the prelim headliner, where we got Vinicius Oliveira coming in against Kyler Phillips. Oliveira is absolutely rocking and rolling right now. Had a big win over Said Nurmagomedov, doing things to Nurmagomedov that nobody has been able to do to that fighter. And Oliveira is slowly cementing himself in this division. And I think he'll be able to do it once again here against Kyler Phillips. Phillips will likely look to utilize his speed and striking advantage early, or look to get to the grappling realm to stay away from the dangerous and aggressive nature of Oliveira's game. I think that's going to cause him a lot of issues here, and that will eventually lead to Oliveira getting that knockout victory, which you can currently get at +340. I think his victory probably happens in round 3, which you can get at +1700. You throw those two bad boys together, round 3 knockout, and you can get +2000. Which I feel is pretty damn good considering how these two guys match up. On the flip side, for Phillips, like I said, either he utilizes his speed and striking advantage early and produces an early finish, which you can get Phillips round 1 at +1100, or he is somehow successful with his grappling approach and controlling Oliveira, surviving to the scorecards and winning there at +230. But I'd be very surprised if Phillips is the one that ends up getting his hand raised here. All right, next up, we got Daniel Zellhuber going up against Michael Johnson. This should be a fun battle, a war, actually. Yes, there seems to be a little bit of bad blood between these two guys coming into this matchup, but I think Zellhuber's striking and range advantage will allow him to really chip away at Johnson from distance, and I think that as Johnson enters the pocket, Zellhuber will be able to land a good enough counter to really just faceplant Johnson. I think he has enough power to expose the durability issues of Johnson's game, which has often been the issue in Johnson's game outside of his fight IQ at times. But you can get Zellhuber to win by knockout at +185. If Johnson wins, he might be able to deliver a knockout too. We've seen Zellhuber on skates recently in the Esteban Ribovics fight, and Johnson does have underrated power, which you can currently get at plus 950 if he wins by knockout. But I think if Johnson wins, it's probably him just picking apart Zellhuber, landing significant shots, making it look good for the judges, and he wins this fight on the scorecards, which you can currently get at plus 800. All right. Next up, we got Dan Ige going up against Patricio Pitbull. Pitbull, kind of hard to put away. So is Dan Ige, but I think it's going to be Ige's volume and output that allows him to go on to win this fight on the scorecards, which you can currently get at plus 135. And then on the flip side for Pitbull, we might see a bit more aggressive a version of him here after that dud that he laid against Yair Rodriguez back in April. Maybe Pitbull seeks the knockout and he gets it here at plus 1,000, but he'd be the first person to put Dan Ige away, so that's going to be very tough, and it makes sense why the odds are that wide. But if Pitbull wins, maybe it comes on the scorecards plus 270. Maybe he gets some takedowns, some control time, lands some big shots to steal a round back in his favor, but I think it's ultimately going to be 50K Ige who grinds this out and wins it on the scorecards. All right, next up, we got Kevin Holland going up against Daniel Rodriguez. I think this is a perfectly tailored matchup for Kevin Holland's style. I think that will lead to him landing big shots from distance and eventually finding that sniper-like shot to put Rodriguez away. And I think it's pretty damn good to get Kevin Holland by knockout at plus 195. On the flip side, Daniel Rodriguez, if he wins, probably lands significant strikes. Maybe he has a little bit of an output advantage, is able to dictate the pace there. You can get Rodriguez to win by decision at plus 800, but I really think it's going to be Holland who finds that knockout. All right, co-main event time now, where we got Roman Kopylov taking on Paulo Costa. This is a tough one because, Costa is a wild card. It's very tough to predict his fights because you never know where his head's at, where he's at mentally, and if he's ready to throw down against a guy who takes mixed martial arts way more seriously than he does. But I think either way, if Kopylov wins, it probably comes with him winning by decision, as Costa is historically tough to put away. I think we'll see Kopylov mix in his takedowns as well as some good strikes in the first 2 rounds, and I think he eventually survives to see the scorecards, which you can currently get for him to win by decision at plus 120. On the flip side, maybe Paulo Costa lands a big knockout of his own. We know he's known for his power, although it's been a long time since he's won by knockout. But maybe he's able to line something up here against Kopylov, and you can get Costa to win by knockout at plus 550. The other one, conspiracy theory here, again, Kopylov, questionable cardio at times, and if Costa's able to put on a bit of a pace here and really wear on Kopylov and land some big shots early, maybe Costa round 3 knockout comes through, which you can currently get at plus 2,500. All right, main event time now for the BMF title. 5 rounds between Dustin the Diamond Poirier and champion Max Holloway, or at least I should say BMF champion Max Holloway. I'm expecting this fight to go to the scorecards. Both guys usually tough to put away. Their last fight obviously went to the scorecards, and Poirier was able to beat him 4-1. That fight was, 7 years ago at this point in time. So maybe there are some improvements that Holloway has been making, but I think ultimately it's going to be the little bit more pop and pepper that Poirier has on his shots compared to the volume and stinging approach from Holloway. Fight goes to decision, minus 135, not bad. Poirier to win by decision, plus 370 is where I would lean here. And then on the flip side for Holloway to win by decision, probably at plus 165. But I think Diamond shows out in front of a hometown crowd here and pulls off the upset. All right, let's quickly go over the top 3 prop spots as well as the long shot. Last week, went 0-3. Davis by submission plus 280. That doesn't come through as he leans more so on his striking. He did have some close submission spots in that first round, but ultimately leaned on his hands in the second round and got that knockout. Chris Curtis, kind of bit of a flat performance there. I thought he'd be able to knock out Max Griffin. That doesn't come through. Calvin Kattar by knockout plus 210. He's washed. I hate to say it. I'm a big fan of the guy, but he's just not the fighter that he used to be. And then the long shot, Tuco Toko, submission round 1, plus 1,200. He does it in round 2. Wish I had sprinkled that in there as well. I think that was plus 14, plus 1,600 or something like that. But we get reverse swept there. So let's try to get back on the board this week. Let's get right into it. Marvin Vettori by decision plus 280. Kevin Holland by knockout, plus 195. Dustin Poirier by decision, plus 370. And the long shot, we're going to go with Vinicius Oliveira, round 3 knockout at plus 2,000. All right. That is a wrap on the UFC 318 content for the week. Make sure you guys check out the PFL breakdown that I dropped earlier today or late last night, depending on when I get it out for you guys. That's obviously going to serve as an appetizer, as well as the KSW card, which goes down Saturday morning as well. I'll have written breakdowns for that, or already have the written breakdowns and some plays out for you guys on the Lock of the Night Patreon page. So make sure you guys check the link in the description below for that. Otherwise, good luck on all your action this weekend, folks, and I'll see you guys again Sunday for the UFC Abu Dhabi breakdowns. See you guys then. Peace.